Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to, depending on wherever you may live, the middle of the night or early morning bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below, merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. And yes, folks, they do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into this middle of the night or early morning bonus upload, shall we? Alright, folks, I have 3 just absolutely terrifying experiences to share with you, but I also am going to throw in a couple of my favorite video clips, ones that really have me either convinced or halfway over the fence, if you know what I mean. I've probably only seen 1 or 2 video clips that have convinced me 100%. One of those is Kirk Stokes. The other one I'll include in this video. Let's get into it.
You got a cigarette box?
No, there's probably a boot next to it. Fucking rip clean in half, and then this next to it.
Got a good shot of it? That might be a better one there.
And it's going up the hill.
Hey, what about just digging a hole and burying it?
It's only the creek.
Yeah, that's right. What about up there? What's up there?
No, that's not it.
Yes, sir. Well, you can see where something's dragged it down there.
Yeah.
I didn't look to see if the other car was still up there.
Your boss will be his eyes open up.
Today's first encounter brings us to the Rocky Mountains. I've adapted a habit of denying or outright ignoring the many creepy things that I've had happen around me in my life, especially while in the moment to not give the bump in the night the attention it craves, if you know what I mean. I'm at heart a skeptic, but can't deny the feeling around something unnatural. I've been working a lot and a little down, so my fiancé and I plan an all-day hike, an adventure to climb to the mountain peak. It's part of our getting healthy goals, so we didn't do this too often. It was a 37-mile trip, most of it on bikes, but most of the elevation was gained on foot. The first strange thing I noticed was the amount of cars at the trailhead. 10 or more cars. The whole trip, we only saw 2 people. For some reason, it seemed weird to me from the start, before we knew how empty the there and back trail was. We only saw 2 people right before a little bit of a storm passed an hour in. We waited for it to pass before we attempted to go any higher. At this moment, I was starting to get very tired, but wanted to keep going. 2,000 feet of elevation on foot by now. The people were strange. They kept looking at the ground and passed without acknowledging us, even when we said hi. Later on, the fiancé stopped and asked if I heard those strange sounds as well. I lightly joked about aliens, but agreed it couldn't have been the thunder or an aircraft. It sounded like a mix of slow, deep drums and mechanical wind, robotic crickets. Not many bugs or frogs up here, so that was kind of weird. We then heard voices, or I did, more than one, laughter. Again, we didn't see any other people on this trail, so this didn't become weird until later. We then get lost and end up at a small pond. A trail led to the back with bones. So many bones. More than 5 or 6 big elk or deer skeletons. I remember standing and looking at them. My fiancé visibly unnerved with me trying to back away from what we had just stumbled into. At this point, I started to want to go home, but we're so close. After we left the bones and found the trail again, my fiancé brought up the silence. It was profound. When he acknowledged it, I stopped and looked around. The tension immediately rose, so I stopped and ignored it and tried to change the subject. There wasn't even a wind, which felt unnatural given all the strange sounds up until this point. We make it almost to the top and eat the last of our food, which is scary because I thought I packed more than enough. I'm hypoglycemic. My fiancé is nervous because he's tired, and he's definitely too tired to carry me if I pass out. We make a plan B to leave me behind and him to run for help if we take too long coming down the trail. We didn't think we'd get lost or have too many breaks. So we start on our way back. The silence had gone on for a long time. We both feel an urgency to leave from the real situation and the unreal, unnatural vibes around us. I can't express how everything just seemed off. I started trying to run downhill, and the fiancé kept trying to have me take breaks. Then I saw it. Off the trail ahead of us several yards, I saw what clearly looked like a person standing up from a low position. Now I couldn't see it clearly as I wasn't looking directly at it at first. It moved like it had to push itself up with its upper body and arm, stood up off of it, looked at me, and then shuffled back and forth as if on 2 feet. My fiancé must have heard some sound from me because he turned around, looked at my face, and then looked where I was looking at. He reached for me, and I felt him freeze when he saw it. Once I was looking at it, it just looked like a dark figure through several trees. Then it dropped to all fours. We moved when it moved to get a better glimpse. After a few steps and less trees, we saw a deer running very slowly through the trees. We watched until it was gone, but I can't describe the horror I felt. In the unrealness of its speed, it seemed so fast when I couldn't see it clearly, but so slow when I could. Like its legs were moving faster than it was. I really don't know how to explain it. Even my fiancé doubted it was the same thing we saw. Maybe there were two deer. Surely it was gone in a flash and not around for us to see. We had already been basically running down the mountain, but this time he didn't ask if I wanted to take another break. It was almost dark when we noticed two cars still parked at the trailhead. Again, no campsites or other people sighted at dusk coming down. We made it to some food quick enough so it wasn't a disaster. However, I'm still playing scenarios of if I fell and hurt myself running downhill while exhausted. I did fall twice, but what if I couldn't get back up? Then I would have had to wait in those woods with whatever that was while he went for help. I really hope this wasn't a Skinwalker and just a trick of my eyes. It was easier to believe it wasn't until I remembered how scared he was and how he asked me exactly what I saw. I haven't told him it looked like it moved like a human at first. I said, huge dark figure getting up, but usually downplay this stuff in the moment and reflect later. I really hope this doesn't stir up the proverbial Skinwalker pot, but weird things still happen if I don't talk about it, so I figured why not. Today's second encounter. So I'm from Alexandria, Kentucky, and I saw something last night that I can't entirely explain. Last night was Midnight Madness at our school. It's basically some stupid football event during the summer, but everyone goes to see people they haven't seen over the summer. I went with two of my friends and one of their girlfriends. We got there around 10:45. Me and my friends were getting pretty bored of the event, and one of my friends just had bought dabs. For those who don't know what dabs are, it's like a concentrated form of marijuana. We got in a buddy's car and we're looking for a place to smoke. We're driving around this subdivision that had very thick forests all around it. We settled on this abandoned house and decided to smoke in the woods behind it. My friend was setting up his dab rig and realized he had forgotten water. A dab rig is basically a bong for dabs, and it needs water or else it'll be very harsh to smoke. Well, we had parked a little down the street so no one would be suspicious. Nobody wanted to go back to the car because it was about a 5-minute walk. So I decided to go back for the water. While I'm walking back, I hear scratching from behind the nearby house. It kind of freaked me out, but I thought it must have been a dog or an animal. I made it to the car and got the water and started heading back. As I was walking back to the house, I heard the scratching. I began to hear it again, but then I heard what sounded like a footstep kicking up gravel when someone starts trying to run. I turned and seen something that has kept me up for the last couple of nights. Keep in mind, I'm 6'2", 17-year-old guy, so I'm bigger than most things. And this thing that I saw had me easily beat in height by 2 or 3 feet. It was slender, but with the most long, outstretched limbs. I couldn't really make out any more details because it was pretty dark. The creature was running from one backyard to another. I never saw its face, only its body. It ran on 2 feet, but it was faster than any person I'd ever seen run. Hell, it was faster than anything I've ever seen run. The creature made it from one backyard to the next in about 3 or 5 seconds. I was standing in the middle of the street about 30 feet away. I stood there for a second in complete shock. Then I ran as fast as I could to my friends. I ran through thorns and bushes to make it back to them. I ran and told them what I saw, and I'm not sure if they believed me, but the panic in my voice was enough to them to know that I had seen something. We packed up the rig and went back to the car. I've been up all night trying to figure out what I saw. The two closest things I have seen on the internet is something called the Dover Demon and something called the Wood Devil. I never saw a face, so I'm not sure what it was. Today's third encounter. I was in my late teens. It was nearing the end of summer, and I was with three good friends of mine. Dustin and Dylan, they were brothers, and our good friend Lucy. Dustin and Dylan's grandparents owned a home down in Page, Arizona. We all lived in Salt Lake City, Utah, so not too long of a drive. Dustin had a court date coming up down there. I don't remember for what, and asked if we wanted to go with. Of course, we said yes. We all loved road trips when we were younger. Any chance to go on one, we took. So I feel it's important to let you know that a couple weeks before this, we had all gone camping out in the West Desert, Utah. That's when Lucy, who's half Navajo, told us about skinwalkers. Her story was terrifying. It's not my story to tell, but perhaps I'll ask her permission to share it with you guys. It's definitely one for the books. Anyway, so she said once you know about skinwalkers, that's when they can mess with you. Also, supposedly whistling calls them. Not just anywhere, though. She said you had to wander through the desert, which is all of Utah and Arizona. So we get to Dylan and Dustin's grandparents' house about 2 a.m. We're all pretty tired at this point, so we get ready to go for bed. It's important to know that his grandparents own a trailer, so you all know how those are set up. The room Lucy and I were staying in was at the end of the trailer. Their grandparents' room was at the other end, and Dustin and Dylan stayed in the living room. Dylan and Lucy and I went outside to have a couple hits of our joint before we turned in. That's when Dylan, trying to be funny, messed around and started whistling a lot. We told him to stop, but he didn't, so we said we were done and headed into our room. We brushed our teeth and laughed and chatted for a minute when we heard something outside of the window. We froze, looked at each other for what seemed like a long time, eyes wide. Lucy jumped on the bed and pulled the curtains down as fast as she could, then looked at me with her finger on her lips, saying, "Shh." Still frozen, staring at the curtains over the window, that's when a man clearly, walked by the outside window. We jumped up and let a little scream out. Clutching each other, we said in shaky voices, "Get out of here or our boyfriends are gonna shoot you." Then we heard an unfamiliar sound. Can't explain it, can't even mimic it. Never heard it since, but it was a disturbing sound. I've honestly never been so scared in my life. The sound began sounding further and further away, like it was leaving, getting further from the trailer. The next thing was so incredibly loud it shook the entire trailer. Then I heard an running straight to our room. The sound of horse hooves running at what sounded like full speed down the hallway, shaking the house and getting closer and closer. I was in such shock and bewilderment, like I'd literally hear a frickin' horse running straight for us in the trailer home at 3 a.m. and is about to bust through the door any second now. Lucy grabbed me by my shirt and pulled me back, yelling, "Get under the covers. Whatever you do, don't look at it." It all happened so fast. Next thing I know, Lucy and I were under the sheet, staring at the silhouette of a half-human, half-horse just standing over us. I could see it breathing, chest rising and falling. I don't know how long we were like that. It seemed like forever. It never spoke and we never spoke. Then it was gone. It turned and it was gone. No sound on its way out, like it was going through. We threw the sheet off and sprinted down the hall to the living room where Dustin and Dylan were. We must have looked like ghosts because the look on their faces when they saw us was scary. They didn't hear a goddamn thing, though. I was shook. How did they not hear anything that just happened? I don't know, but I do know one thing. Skinwalkers are 100% real. I've never had any other experiences since, but I also stay away from the desert. I now live in Kansas City. My grandpa is half Cherokee. When I told my mom about it years and years later, she said we were protected from that kind of magic. I have no idea what she meant by that, but good enough for me. All right, folks, some of my favorite video clips that really do have me halfway over the fence. I hope you enjoyed these experiences as well. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. After all, it is your support that keeps this channel growing and going, and also what makes people want to share their experiences, ideas, and theories, because they know they can without ridicule and without judgment, and just be treated with the respect that we all deserve. That is all on you guys, the community you have created, in the comment section. Everyone stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, the most precious gift we are granted. Our pets, the greatest alarm system we could ever have. And friends and family, the people that we do love and care about. And share this information with those people, because it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, and definitely never stop looking for answers. God bless you all.